two strangers carry a cake across New York. Very specific, very intriguing. You two are bringing a story that takes place in New York City to New Yorkers this time. How does that feel to present this show in New York City?
It is very thrilling, but it's also an immense responsibility. Because it feels like even with any musical, this is the most distinguished audience in the world for musical theatre. So bringing any show from out of New York into New York is already a kind of daunting prospect. A show that's set in New York, the responsibility is magnified 1,000 times. But I also really believe that the version of New York that we've created along with Tim Jackson, our director, is something that New Yorkers will get a kick out of. The way that we've been thinking about it is New York is a mythical city, a bit like Oz or the Emerald City in Oz, or a bit like Cair Paravel or somewhere, just with the added detail that it happens to exist in real life.
I mean, it doesn't feel that way on the subway. But no. I do think that there is a romantic version of New York to people who don't live here, and that seems to be what inspired you two, because my understanding is that you had not spent a lot of time here when you were writing the show.
We'd only been here as tourists, so we'd never really lived here. And the story, our show is told from the perspective of somebody who has a rose-tinted image of the city of New York. And for him, he's absorbed New York primarily through the cinema, but also from music and books. But he's watched and watched again movies set in New York, which is kind of true of us as well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably not living in New York was both a help and a hindrance, in that if we were writing a show about London, we probably wouldn't be able to be so sort of in awe of the place, because we were able to just take all the best bits that we were receiving across the sea and sort of make a show about it.
So what are some of those inspirations, especially that fed this show?
Sort of too many to count, I think, probably, but we like to say that there's the Before trilogy by Richard Linklater, which is similar in some ways.
That's the Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It takes, the first two films anyway, take place over a very short period of time, a bit like our show, and they're sort of really two-handers.
I think when we set out to do this, we felt that we wanted to do something that was like gently radical, in the sense that we wanted to write a musical about two quite unimportant people, not doing anything especially magnificent. And that at the time felt quite exciting. We sort of had a wager that you could write about the small emotional fluctuations of two strangers, and that those fluctuations could be moving enough to merit song. And I think we were encouraged in that, certainly by movies like Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. But also along the way, other musicals have appeared in that time that have really kind of granted permission for that kind of approach. New York, I'm already talking the talk in New York. I'm already popping the cork 'cause I'm ready. I'm ready to be in New York. Are they ready? Are they ready for me in New York? Is that Times Square?
Nope, that's Queens.
Awesome.
And also, when you're working with romantic comedy, there are certain tropes that people expect. How did you play with those?
Well, that's sort of the show, in the sense that those films that inspired us, in particular, stuff like Sleepless in Seattle, Moonstruck, Crossing Delancey, When Harry Met Sally, kind of classic New York rom-coms, we wanted to sort of challenge some of the expectations there. So we have one character who believes in those and another who decidedly doesn't. Hopefully there's a sense that those characters have some slight kind of gravitational influence on one another as they pass through one another's lives. But yes, certainly those, sometimes we rewatch those films quite a lot, and sometimes we go back and we're like, oh wow, we really lifted that.
And something that's been amplified, especially lately, is rom-coms that are set during the holidays. Everyone loves a cozy love story with twinkly lights, and they're in. So how did you play with that?
And the poster is red and green and a bit of gold. And,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, the show, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. The show was originally set at Christmas. It's now set on the first weekend of December. It's not legally a Christmas show.
But the lights are up.
We wanted to sort of distance ourselves from that a bit, but certainly it's present. It's the one bit of the year where there's like a major injection of history into the music that we listen to. It's like all suddenly it's Sinatra or Nat King Cole.
It's all from the past.
Yeah. And our story is set around a wedding. So they're both guests at an upcoming wedding, our two characters. And we were talking about that. It's almost like New York, a wedding, the festive season, all of them offer this kind of, like an elevated emotional atmosphere or something, like the city alone, even being here. And that's the reality of New York, not just the fantasy, is so enriched. I mean, if you live here, you might become accustomed to that, but we've been here for a month and it hasn't worn off at all. It's like every second of every day is so enriched with, it's numinous, it's the only word for it.
I'll stroll up the Broadway, I'll order a beer, I'll scream at the Statue of Liberty, hey, lady, I'm walking here.
What was your idea of New York versus what your personal reality was when you finally got to spend some real time here?
I think some of the really nice things about coming to New York is sort of like the community that you really find here. Like London often feels like it's not really lived in. It's sort of like a museum or something. But in New York, even right in the center of town, you really feel like people are living here and they know all the restaurants and these lovely old shops. And
that sense of a block being a kind of self-sufficient, kind of unified community. Yeah, London's wonderful, and obviously I'm from there, I love it. But we found ourselves saying, like, if somebody visits London, I always feel a bit worried, because I think they're bringing with them the equivalent fantasy, right? And they're thinking Dickensian cobbled streets and like little weaselly pub-like, like den-like pubs where you could get lost, and there might be, Oliver Twist might pop out from behind a corner at any moment, accompanied by Jack the Ripper. But and so I worry that London is a bit corporate and that people will be disappointed when they come here, because it's like London isn't maybe very London.
That's really funny, because
Whereas
as
New
you were
York is
talking,
very New
I was
York.
thinking the same thing about New York.
Not
I was
to
thinking,
us.
but all the chain stores and the...
Yeah, but
the
it's
Dwayne
not
Reed,
like London.
I think compared to London though,
There's many more independent businesses here. The theatre industry feels like much more welcoming, much more tangible. But even when you were saying earlier, it's like, oh, it doesn't feel romantic on the subway. To us, it kind of does feel romantic. Like even somebody kind of yelling, "Watch it," is part of that in a way.
For 2 whole days, I'll literally be in New York. NYC, JFK, FBI, CIA, I'm already talking the talk, and I'm ready.